Hello and welcome to the Animation Essay Podcast. For those of us who are not in Annecy this week, here's a little something to take the edge off the FOMO. In this month's episode, we chat to Aron Warner, the highly accomplished producer of many titles, including the original Shrek movies. Aron talked to us about his latest feature, Sony's Wish Dragon, what it's really like to work with China, and why South Africa got him excited about breaking the mold. Oh, and if that resonant bass voice sounds familiar, it might be because Aron played the wolf in the Shrek movies. I know, pretty cool. You started sort of in a traditional production assistant role, and then you became more and more creative as you went.
Yeah, I mean, the creative side wasn't really allowed to come out until I got into animation, and it was honestly more about necessity than anyone inviting me. I would just be in these meetings and start slowly kind of speaking up and realizing that was something that was needed, and I...
That being your insights?
Not my insights, but somebody to guide and corral, and then I got the chance to start adding, my thoughts and feelings and ideas and jokes and to the whole thing, and I loved it. It's so much more fun than really being a numbers cruncher, obviously, but I'm glad that I know both, because I know physical production pretty well, and I can help guide the creative to fit without destroying. Usually, sometimes that's not the case. Having the live action background, this is something I said earlier. I think not coming from animation, not having been raised with it as a kid even, I think that fresh perspective started as a disadvantage and turned into an advantage, because I just thought, well, I don't know what I'm doing, so I'm just going to make it up, and then I'd make up new ways and new approaches, and it worked pretty well.
So Ants was your first animated outing, right?
Yeah.
And was it more like the project coming to you, as in like you wouldn't have picked animation for yourself?
Yeah.
Right.
And it was just one of those random phone calls that I got from Sandy Ravens, who was head of production at DreamWorks, someone I'd known from the live action world, and it sounded really interesting. I read the script, which was a great script, by the way, that the Weitz brothers wrote, and then went. I think my first week at PDI in Northern California, I went to SIGGRAPH in New Orleans, and I didn't know what SIGGRAPH was. I had never heard of it, and I went to these meetings, these big, presentations of software and methodology that I didn't even. I was clueless and overwhelmed.
Did you find you had an affinity for it? Or?
I think one of the reasons Sandy thought I might be a good choice was because I had worked on a lot of VFX films up to that point, and CG was become bigger and bigger pieces of those movies. So I think I did have an affinity for it for sure, but I didn't know anything about the animation side.
I remember Ants was kind of an interesting moment, because they were going for this satirical tone and definitely looking for that adult audience. But then it came out at the same time as A Bug's Life, which took like this much more kind of innocence, child-centered approach to the same story.
Right. And we came out, I think, 6 months or so before, 8 months before Bug's Life,
And then you guys did Shrek, which I think was like the perfect sort of marriage of like catering for both audiences and turning it into something that could cross over. So do you want to talk a little bit about that?
I just, like I have said many, many times about Shrek, so much of it was an accident. An accident of the right people in the right place in the right time in their careers. Storyboard artists who have wanted to break out of the mold of very traditional animation style and storytelling style and do new, weird, funny stuff. And we found kind of a template that allowed for a lot of freedom. And that story is a very complicated story in some ways if you really sit down and think about it. And
the template being the script, or just
the template being the character really in the world that we created. And just sort of taking the piss out of fairy tales. And Andrew Adamson is the director on the film. He very smart man, and he really understood story and understood how important it was to have the heart and soul of it work in all the right places. And without that, it would have been, a bunch of jokes. And the fact that it touched so many people, came a lot from how the film was structured and put together, and from the heart and soul of all the people working on it.
I like what you were saying today about how Shrek is kind of the animator in each of us, because they like that slight misfit, but kind of proud of it. Exactly.
Yeah. Proud sort of misanthropes in our own little swamps, wanting everybody to get out, but also really loving being around people and laughing. So it really was a good. We didn't, none of that was conscious. We just started to see ourselves more and more in the stories.
Well, I guess that's when magic happens, though, because it's personal, as you've been saying as well. Make it personal and specific.
That's it. Yeah.
I remember it was so fresh at the time, because it wasn't that long since Disney had their big comeback with the newer 2D pictures at the time.
Right.
And then this came along and I remember the opening with the storybook saying "Once Upon a Time," and then what a load of bollocks, whatever it is. And then Fred Durst started singing. I remember my friend sitting next to me went like, "Oh, yes."
Oh, that's
this
great.
It's like one of those moments, a bit like Spider-Verse, where you're like, oh, this is where things are going. Like now that you see it, you can see that it was inevitable. But it takes someone to do that,
Honestly, I think that we figured out the tone of the movie from that opening sequence, because that said everything it needed to say. And from there, it just kind of took off. It was a massive struggle up to that point.
And Mike Myers and the Scottish accent being involved, did that also help you get the ball rolling?
It did.
Or was that later?
Well, he
came up with the idea. I seem to remember.
Well, yeah. Look, it was an accent he did, and he was comfortable in that persona, and we were doing it without the accent for quite a while. And because I'm not sure, I don't even remember why, but I think it was like, oh, no one's going to get Scottish, blah, blah, blah.
Mm.
And then
it's so hard to imagine without it now.
I know. Yeah. I know. And then Spielberg came and watched a work in progress screening and said, why is he not doing a Scottish accent?
Oh, so it was Spielberg?
Yeah.
Okay.
And it was pretty hilarious, except the fact that we'd animated about 15% of the movie, but, it wasn't...
Just the lip sync had to change.
It was lip sync, yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, but a great... again, that movie was magical in the moments that happened that made it what it was. And, for one person to even come close to taking credit for any of the success of that film is ridiculous. It was like all animation, the most collaborative art form in the world.
And how do you feel about the reboot?
No comment. I don't know. I don't know what they're trying. I don't know what they're doing. It's I feel like the world's had enough Shrek, but I know
that ship can sail.
I know I personally have. There you go.
So do you want to tell us a little bit about the latest phase of your career, which I was happy to hear you credited to a visit to South Africa?
Yeah. In all seriousness, the latest phase of my career started with Chris Appelhans coming to me with a movie called Wish Dragon. And at the time I was working at Real Effects and I wanted to buy it. And I said yes in the room because he pitched the idea, and I'm like, yeah. And if you know anything about Chris, he's an artist, and the few pieces of art he brought told you exactly what the movie was going to be. And I've never actually had that experience before, where you just saw it and you knew. And and he didn't sell it to me. He sold it to this company in China, Base Effects, and I think they with their promise that they were going to make the movie. And I don't know, 9 months later.
So he came to you after he'd been to them? Or?
No, this was before. And after I left Real Effects, about 9 months later, I got a call from Chris saying, hey, do you want to produce this movie? And I was like, sure. What does that mean? And at the time, we were it was pretty bare bones, and we put a team together in LA and for story and art, and worked really hard for quite a long time, for about 8 months to get the first screening up, and it turned it around pretty quickly. And the script was strong, but it was very, Chris isn't Chinese, and although he has a lot of Chinese friends, and he wanted to make sure it was authentic as possible. So with the help of Sophie Zhao, who worked at base, she helped us start figuring out how to, localize it, make it more authentic. And I just started to see that the power of making a film about present-day China, about a kid growing up in present-day China, never been done before in animation, and how the Chinese American crew was feeling about it and realizing how important representation was for people who really grew up never seeing themselves on screen. And that idea then just started to spread in my brain, and I ended up here in South Africa and saw this light in the people I met, and this light in the industry, and this kind of teetering on the verge of like really amazing time. And your political history and the social issues here, and create this tension that needs a creative outlet, and I think that is I saw that sort of coming through in people, and I also saw not just the hunger and desire, but the readiness to actually do the work to get where people need to get. So
how did you get from China to thinking South Africa is also in this family of?
It was a random. I mean, I visited here for the film festival, not the animation film festival, but was invited here to speak, and it was completely random. And if that hadn't happened, I don't know if what I'm doing would have happened. So I went back and I sat down and I thought, okay, how do I make a living doing this, and how do I do more of it?
Because you were freelance at that time. Yeah.
How do I do more of this? And I went and proposed to some of my studio friends that I do this as my own division. And so right now we're in the process of figuring out, how that's going to work. But the support I've gotten has been incredible. So I've got now several films in development all over the world, 2 here in South Africa.
So exciting.
One in Mexico, one that will be made in Korea, the Korean American director, film in Colombia, and another couple films in China that we want to do.
And those countries that are part of that group, was it key creatives that you'd met, or was it also a visit that made you just go?
It was mostly, it was each one is completely different.
Right.
Completely different story. Some came to me, kind of fully packaged. Here's a script. And others were, I have an idea, and I would go, that's a great idea. Let's go do it. So it's been all over the map.
I was interested to hear, because I know you've been talking to Triggerfish. Anthony said that he'd sent you a slate of projects and asked you, like, what do you like? And you came back and said, no, what do you like? And so how important is that sort of key creative? And is it the passion behind the project that you're looking for rather than something?
The project itself. It's a combo, I mean, there are a lot of people who are, for some reason, in the industry because they think they can make money doing it, and that's just a terrible reason.
Especially in features.
I know, because it sucks and it's hard and it takes forever, and so unless the passion's behind it, you're not going to have them for the long haul. They're not going to do the work that's necessary. They're not going to apply all of themselves to whatever the project is. So, it's got to be unique and it's got to have some passion behind it.
Yeah, I think Guillermo del Toro has been known to say, if you're not willing to die for your film, you're making the wrong film.
Yeah.
If you don't have the energy for the long haul, nobody else is going to have it for you.
No,
Yeah.
and your team won't have it either.
Yeah, I find it really interesting that you picked up on this moment in South Africa that needs creative expression, because I think it's a very confusing moment politically and socially. We had apartheid, as you know, and there's some of our most iconic arts, like fine art, came out of that period.
Right.
And I think it's because it was kind of very clear what was the right and what was the wrong, and it was kind of easy to express something about that. Then we had a transition period that was very hopeful, and it turns out that artistically hope is not that interesting by itself. You know, you need something pushing against it, and now we've certainly got a lot pushing against. I mean, we've got a really, really complex mix of factors and complex mix of emotions.
Exactly. No, that's well said. Tension is a necessary part of great creativity, and it's unfortunate, but a lot of good stuff comes out of that, you know.
Yeah. And then I guess it also depends who's watching it.
Right.
What they think of it.
And who's ready to watch it, who's ready to look at some of the stuff head on. And sometimes why you need to make it animation or speculative stuff is people aren't quite ready to look at it head on, but they're ready to kind of look at it through a different filter and start to have these ideas kind of sink in. Yeah,
it's that reminds me of the point about talking animal films. I know they're not your favorite, but about how that they can provide that filter. Somehow it retains all of its poignancy, but without being too close to the bone.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because it's got this filter.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but I guess the other question is who's making it and who has a right to make that story. And that's another area where I think sci-fi or animals or something that belongs to nobody is kind of useful, because it's nobody's story to tell.
Yeah.
Whereas I'm sure you get tired of the question because it's all we tend to talk about lately, but are we allowed to tell a story from another race, from another nation? And I think that's the cultural appropriation.
And
it's bandied about a lot.
And, you know, every side has a good point in those conversation. People telling stories about cultures other than their own. I mean, look, we've been doing that for centuries, and there's nothing inherently wrong with that. But when the people who could be telling them those stories don't have the opportunity to tell them, then there's something wrong with that. So, I mean, I think if something genuinely comes from someone who's experienced what their story's about, or has a direct personal connection to it, it's going to be better, usually, than anybody else's version. Usually. Yeah.
Or you can have the one guy with the what if idea, and then bring on the other guy who has the detailed experience.
And I think partnership is very valuable and not to be underrated. And I don't think people should let their egos get in the way. If they know they need help telling a story, get it. You know, just get it. Work with a writer, work with an artist, work with someone. Just, you know, fill your team with the right kinds of people and the right skill set. And that's an art form in and of itself.
Oh, yeah.
Figuring that out. And something that's just alchemy. Like, I couldn't teach that to anybody.
A lot of that is also just being at the right place at the right time, isn't it?
Yeah.
But then I saw Malcolm Mopes talk about how he used social media.
Whenever I ask people, hey, do you know any good artists? They're like, good on Instagram.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, oh. But that's where people are. There are virtual animation platforms now that, you know, where people can work from home and work on a movie together, you know, and collaborate and do stuff like that. And that's going to start happening more and more. And going to make distance is going to become less and less of an issue.
Yeah, as we get finally better broadband in Africa, that will help. Yeah,
right.
I was quite heartened by David Prescott's point to say, like, stop making the excuse of bad resources or bad technology, because you had the young guy in Lagos who just did it. Stop motion.
The guy in Laos, just ridiculous talent, and nothing stopped him.
Yeah,
and it's same with the guys in
Myanmar.
Same with the guys in Myanmar, and you know this kid from a studio in Myanmar who looked 12,
there were studios in Myanmar,
but was a doctor, a physician, an MD, decided he would rather do animation, and just started a studio, and they do like really cool stuff. It's not like they're doing crap. They're digging into their own culture and their own stories that nobody's heard, nobody's seen.
What's it been like with China? And it's a really broad question.
Yeah, it is broad because China is, the director I work with jokes, just multiply everything by 12. And that's China. I mean, everything is just giant. And it's been really challenging there. Not really for any China reasons. It's really just been about getting enough. I mean, one of the issues I think we came up on Witch Dragon is people without feature experience getting really, really tired and not having the endurance and not knowing that you'll come out the other side okay. And until you've done that, I can understand how that can happen and be pretty harrowing.
I get the impression they work pretty hard.
No, they work incredibly hard and have an incredible work ethic. But features are a marathon. And
so do you mean like almost spiritually tired? Like they get tired of the project?
And, the bar for this film is very high. And we're pushing really, really hard. And sometimes it breaks people. And they're just like, I can't do what you need me to do at the level you need me to do it for the length of time I need to be doing it. But other than that, it's been a pretty incredible experience. And I've seen, I feel like we're really helping kind of teach and train a new generation of kind of incredible animators and lighters and effects artists and layout people.
So your whole production team is there?
Everybody.
And there's a kind of perception that I've heard from various people that have worked with the Chinese. I'd be delighted to explode it. Is if it's not true, but that the teams there want to be told more specific directions, like more specific frame by frame instructions, and that makes creative collaboration where you want to go like, here's a shot, go wild. That makes that difficult. Has that been your experience?
Not at all? I think that there is a artistic freedom that is burgeoning there.
Do you think they just weren't used to it and now it's just a question of being told?
They didn't have permission, and there's a lot of insecurity and fear but I'm telling you, like, it's happening and people, there've always been amazing artists there, but I think it's spreading and people are being able to kind of express themselves more and through art more deeply. And that certainly happened in our film. I saw people really just like blossom and it's been incredible.
It would be great to start seeing some of those names become known internationally and more cross-pollinate. I get the feeling that they are reaching out more, like you see them more at Annecy. There's always more Chinese co-production.
For sure.
There's a little bit more, I don't know, I feel like there's more exchange.
There's a lot more. And part of that is too happening because there are a lot of Chinese Americans who are going back to China and are going to China for the first time and wanting to work there and be there and be part of it. So there's been a kind of cross-pollination that's, I think, helping a lot. And in South Africa, what's kind of been the flavor of the industry that you felt so far? No, there's no specific flavor, really. It's kind of all over the map, which is great. That's how
enthusiastic, probably.
Yeah, that's how it should be.
Yeah.
And it's been really enthusiastic. And I'm waiting to see what that brings, what kinds of stories that brings.
Yeah. I love the one comment in the panel that one lady made where she said, what can we do to get South African films to stop marketing themselves as, you saw Black Panther, so why don't you see this? Like, guilt marketing.
Yeah, I know. That was really funny. That was really funny.
Yeah.
Marketing's just hard. Period.
Yeah. But it's also, I think it speaks to a certain kind of cultural cringe about our own stuff that we put out. And part of it comes from how diverse we are. That if we put something out, we kind of feel like, oh, but my little corner of the world or my little experience isn't going to speak to enough people.
Right.
It's too weird or it's too lame or... Yeah, I think we have to I think Australia very successfully kind of offered some films that broke any of that.
Well, they had a golden age of cinema.
It's true. It's been a while now.
And I'm waiting for it to happen again there because, George Miller is my hero. I learn more about directing, about what directing means from watching Road Warrior than from any other movie.
Wow.
I mean, it's the most, it's visual storytelling 101 times a billion, you know. You just watch it and you go, oh, that's what a close-up does. That's what happens when you move the camera at the right moment, you know. It's brilliant.
I was quite interested to hear what you were saying about Crazy Rich Asians as well, because you'd mentioned that for you it was sort of maybe so-so as a viewing experience, but your Asian American friends had tears streaming down their faces at the idea of two guys talking about their relationships.
Yeah.
And it's something similar with Black Panther actually. It's definitely flawed, and in terms of what it's saying about Africa, I'm not sure I can get on board with it 100%. But my Black friends who saw it, that was it for them. They just thought it was amazing, and I think that experience of being represented. Who am I to say that there's anything that's not working about it? It's so powerful for its.
You can't know what it feels like.
No.
And I can't either, and I try to imagine, and you know, in some ways I can, you know, as you know, a gay Jew growing up, you know, in LA and not being like, you know, particularly beautiful or being, you know, whatever. It's, you know, I used to see movies with gay characters in them, and it was like, oh, there's the flaming queen, the serial killer, or the pathetic old lonely person. And those were my three examples of what gay people were growing up. So, you know, I guess in that way I can know what it feels like to never see yourself.
That's definitely
on screen.
An underrepresented group.
And, you know, by the way, I don't think it's been particularly well represented yet anyway, but it's beyond our imagination how powerful that is.
There was a book, Shrill, by Lindy West.
Is that the one that they're making the TV show?
I don't know if there's a TV show. She wrote a book about basically being fat.
That's the show that my friend Allie's doing it.
Oh, really?
And they're shooting in Portland. It's going to be on Hulu, which you guys don't get apparently.
Only with a VPN.
Right.
But she said something so similar. She said, like, my role models growing up are an old teapot.
Right.
A villain, basically, you know, like it would be Ursula the Sea Witch or that kind of thing, or I can't remember the third, but some lovable but harmless matriarch.
Exactly.
And that's kind of what she had to model.
Yeah.
And I think her life quest is about changing that. But,
that's really cool.
Yeah. And I mean, Wonder Woman showed that just women in general really needed to see somebody powerful, you know, whose thighs jiggle. That was
another thing where you know, I was talking to some friends, and my friend said his wife just like she teared up during that movie. Wow. And I saw it, I was like, oh, I was not a giant fan, but
I wasn't a big fan either. But I think it just shows how much work still needs to be done, and that whole Me Too movement has proved there's a lot of work that needs to be done.
Absolutely,
for a very large proportion of the population.
Absolutely, and there's incredible power in it.
Is there anything between one project and the next that you would say is like the essence of what you look for?
I just want it to be something I haven't seen before, you know, and I know that's hard, and that's needle in a haystack. And if it's something really unique, and it has someone behind it who actually has the capacity to make it through that movie as a creator, then that makes it a lot more attractive. Sometimes you just get an idea come to you, and you have to put together all the filmmakers to kind of make that happen. Sometimes the ideas come with filmmakers attached to, which is great, unless you don't like them, and then that's a whole nother story. But it's needle in haystack.
Do you think it's a key word if you say something you haven't seen before? Do you like stuff that is being put forward that's already visually developed, or that has a unique something to look at as opposed to something to read?
Either way, really.
Yeah, I'm biased because I'm a writer, but I mean, I see how some of our artists can put things together, and I'm just so jealous because it's immediate. You're like, wow, like you were saying about Wish Dragon, you're like, I get it. Like, I can already see it.
And that's the thing on that movie is Chris is a writer and an artist, and having both, just like I had truly never seen that happen before. We had a series of like 19 paintings that we used a lot as sort of touchstones, even not as lighting keys necessarily, but as sort of a suggestion. You look at those 19 paintings and you know the movie.
Wow.
And even the soul of the movie. Like, and that's just mind blowing to me.
That might be a certain amount of your skill as a storyteller to be able to extract the soul.
I don't know. I think it was very clearly.
Did he know what his? Did he already have like his emotional?
Yeah, he knew what he was the most. He's one of the best directors I've ever worked with.
Amazing.
And
it's his first outing, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Incredible. There's so many strings that have to be in your bow as an animation director, I think.
It's
like micromanaging as well as big picture. And as you say, the tenacity to get through such a very long process.
And not give up, and not get overly frustrated.
Did you see The Monkey King?
No, I haven't seen it.
Yeah, I also haven't seen it.
I don't see a lot of movies.
Oh, really?
No, I really don't.
You don't find that an impediment?
Not really. I mean, that's kind of unfair. I do see movies. I rather read a book, honestly, and let my mind kind of be free of too many preconceived notions.
Okay. Is it a bit too much like going to work?
It is. It's totally like going to work. Totally. And reading scripts is like going to work.
Yeah,
too.
Of course.
And I love reading. So I have to kind of force myself because obviously it's a big part of what I do, but it is like going to work.
What do you think of I think something that's made movies feel a bit like work to screenwriters is that we keep seeing the same movie over and over again, which is this Blake Snyder kind of, every beat has to happen on the right page. And it seemed to be quite endemic for a while. And I just love seeing something different. Like, what do you think it's going to take to really sort of move away from that? Are we going to all get sick of it and realize it was one of many forms?
I think that, an artist or writer comes along and they shake it up. That's what always happens, And they prove that you don't have to stick to this exact, structure and tell the same story over and over again. And look, we were successful doing blah, blah, blah,
Yeah.
One of the questions I really hate when we're in development is, so what are the act breaks? Where does act 1 end?
Really?
And where does act 2? I'm like, I don't care. I don't care. What's the story that needs to be told? What needs to happen now? And you can figure out the act breaks later if you really feel that married to the idea of doing that. But, I know I never got trained to be a development person. I trained myself. So again, I break the rules and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I'm not great at it. I think I have a good eye. I know I have a good ear for dialogue. I know that when something doesn't sound right or feel right in an edit, I feel like literally in the middle of my viscera. I don't know, and I've learned to put language to that, so I'm not just grunting all the time. And Jeff Gatzberg was a good teacher in that regard too, because he's super clear about what wasn't working and why, and just to see that through his eyes sometimes was really, really helpful.
Do you find ever that you get to, if you're so deep in an edit that you kind of lost fresh eyes, do you ever need to pull in somebody new to look at it, or do you find your instinct remains strong throughout?
No, we do that a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, on 4 years on a movie, you've got to bring people in. You've got to bring fresh eyes in and not be afraid to do that. I hate it. For some reason, I'm like so loath to show the baby to anybody, until the baby's ready. But it's really, really important. One of the things we did on Wish Dragon was we screened probably the roughest animatic I've ever seen in my life. We screened several times in China for family audiences.
Wow.
And
that is brave.
Very early. And because we needed to know, is this offensive? Does it feel authentic? Does it feel right? We got amazing feedback. It was a really good experience. Right. And not all the feedback was good feedback, which is fine, but it was all helpful feedback. And I think it's really important to do that.
It's sometimes quite hard to get, lay people to understand that an animatic is not what it's going to look like.
Amazingly, they were like with the movie the whole time.
Oh, well, that's
and
a
this
good
was
sign.
This was rough, and is a really good sign, because honestly, if it doesn't work in animatic, it's not going to work any better when it's pretty.
Yep. You can hide some stuff.
Yeah, tiny.
Music can help a bit.
Tiny bit. Yeah. Tiny bit.
Yeah, no, this is a trial by fire. And did you have Jackie Chan already as your scratch?
No, I didn't know. Our scratch was, and even the Mandarin translation was not good at that time. It was just, it wasn't that it wasn't good. It's that we've improved it a lot since. So it was just rough on every level.
Have you had to do different cuts for the Chinese audience and the American one?
No, we have one version of the movie.
Oh. So is Jackie Chan doing the Chinese and the English?
Jackie's the dragon in Mandarin. He's the voice of the dragon in Mandarin.
Oh, only in Mandarin?
Yeah.
He didn't do the English one? Alright. Because I know he's done a few animated characters in English. He has, but he said he preferred, he said, this is what I want to do, and I'm like, awesome, cool. Let's do it. Will we see it here, you think?
Hell yeah. Of course we will.
Brilliant.
Yeah, it's going to be everywhere.
Sounds really, really exciting.
Sony's really excited about the movies, and that helps a lot.
It sounds like one of those that's also set to change things up, which is really cool.
I hope so. It's a weird, it's not your normal animated movie, it's not manic, jokey.
That'll be a relief.
It's extremely heartfelt.
What would you say what have been your touchstones? Like what movies had a similar sort of heart or something that you?
For Wish Dragon?
Yeah.
Chris brings up Slumdog Millionaire a lot.
Interesting.
And it's definitely not as dark as that film, but it's got joy, it's got pain, it's got all that stuff in it, and it is really, really funny, by the way. I'm not saying it's not. It's just not that one gag after the other kind of thing.
It's not like things flying through the air all the time.
Right. It's good. That's all I can say. That's all I will say about it.
And just lastly, I'm sure you have been asked this question a million times already in the past few days, but what advice would you give to South African filmmakers that want to kind of break into the international market?
Just make good stuff and keep at it, and partner with people if you need help. You have a small community and you need each other, so rely on each other and trust each other, and don't let your ego get in the way.
And that's it for this month, except to wish our Animation SA delegation in Annecy an amazing time and best of luck to our 3 projects in competition this year. Do visit the website to find out more about those. It's www.animationsa.org. I'm Julia Smuts Louw. Thanks for listening.